Winston Churchill, later in his life, was asked to give a commencement speech. And after they introduced Winston and he was invited to the podium, he went over to the podium and he said, "Never, ever, 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 ever give up." And then he sat down. Winston Churchill failed 6th grade. He was subsequently defeated for every political office for which he wanted to be in. And at 62 years old, he was elected prime minister. So that's why when he was talking to these students, his main message was, never, ever, ever, ever give up. Because our message this morning, so beautifully sung by our choir, was the long and winding road. That our life, friends, is a long and winding road. I know science has proved that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Is that how your life works out? Let's look at this. You have an idea to do something. You go forward with complete confidence, never a worry, never a doubt. Everything shows up exactly as you planned it, the exact moment you planned. The people show up that are absolutely perfect all the time. The money shows up absolutely perfect all the time. And you go forward with complete confidence with that idea that you had. Really? Is that how life works out? You know that life isn't a straight line. It's a long and winding road. It's full of joys, it's full of disappointments, it's full of worries, it's full of concerns. It's full of moments of unknown. It's a long and winding road. I lived on Maui, which was a long and winding road, even deciding to move to Maui, in the year 2000, and I lived there to 2005. And one of my favorite roads on Maui is the road to Hana. It's the road, and many of you are nodding, it's the road that connects Kahului, where the airport is, to a little town in Hana where your cell phone doesn't even work. So it's remote. And that road is about 60 miles. And you would think driving along a 60-mile road would take about an hour, right? Well, the road to Hana takes about 3 hours. And why do you think that is? A lot of curves. There are 620 curves on the road to Hana. And it is a beautiful ride, but it's a long and winding road. And you can take an airplane from Kahului to Hana, and you can get there in about 15 minutes. But you miss the whole thing. You miss the whole thing because your life is a long and winding road. And that's what makes it interesting. And so we're going to be with the idea of how to navigate the road of your life. Because I want you guys to have a GPS called this God protection system that you work with, and that you can engage and travel this road, this journey that actually doesn't have so much of a destination, just that you're engaged in it, and you're on it, and you're enthused by it. So I'm going to invite you to look at this road, give yourself 3 navigational questions. First of all, where are you heading? Where are you heading on this long and winding road of your life? And secondly, how are you navigating the curves and the turns and all the things that come up in life? And finally, are you noticing all the beautiful things that are happening in your life, the flowers, the waterfalls, all the things on the road to Hana? Are you noticing how the universe is plotting for your good? So the first part of our road, of our journey, is where are you heading? A really important question. I facilitated a class called Calling in the One last spring. And it was people that were learning about relationship and growing in relationship. And I asked people at the beginning of the class, how many of you on your wedding day were thinking, what am I doing here? I'm not sure about this at all. I'm not quite even sure how I got here. I feel a little pressured into this conversation, into this decision, and I'm not clear about this decision at all. And 75% of the people in the class raised their hand. I thought that was a little interesting to where are you heading? People weren't so clear about that. I know when I was 17 and I was deciding to get in to take my bachelor's degree, I had a conversation with my father. I didn't know where I was heading, so I sort of let him make a decision. That was really bright. And I said, so Dad, what do you think I should study? And he said, why don't you study business? That's the way you can make some money. And since I had no idea where I was heading, I entered into this 4-year program. I had a migraine through most of it because I didn't know where I was heading. And subsequently, I was offered a job, and I had a migraine with that job, most of it also. And then a very loving, my bank manager, because I was working at a bank, said to me, Heidi, you're not only miserable, you're not really very good at this. And invited me to carry on. And so not knowing where you're heading is really not a good way to travel this long and winding road. I wonder how we get to this place. I wonder how we're in relationships or in marriages, at least the beginning of them, we're not clear why we're there at all. I wonder why we get into professions that give us migraines and that aren't ours to do, and we're doing them for some reason about something outside happening rather than something inside being fed. The scripture that I put in the bulletin this week was that it's easier for a camel to get through the eye of the needle than for a rich man to get into heaven. And of course, Jesus was always speaking in parables. What did it have to do with camels and needles and rich men? What it had to do with that when you start making your decisions about something outside of yourself. I went to college for the idea that I'd make some money, not anything about Heidi and the passion of my life. And when we make decisions for something outside of us and not that passion within us, we're not on our road list, we're not on our long and winding road. We're on somebody else's road, and we don't know where we're heading. But one thing for sure, if you're not on the road of passion and purpose that is within you, you'll never be happy. It's like when you get on the airplane and they say, this plane's going to Houston, and if Houston is not in your travel plans, you need to get off the plane. So if we're on a road where we're heading somewhere that isn't our passionate purpose, we need to get off that road and get on our own road.